Hi everyone, welcome at Wavect. Today with Teo Funk, who is the founder and VR artist at Pigiama, Kasama. Please correct me if
Pigiama,
that's
right.
yeah, perfect. And is professional XR, 3D and UX designer. And today we're gonna talk about why the future is VR. It's a pleasure talking with you, Teo. Thank you for having me. And please feel free
Thank you.
to introduce yourself. What are you
Thank you.
doing? What are you passionate about?
Thank you, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be here. And thanks for introduction. So, well, yes, I founded with a friend of mine the studio Pigiama Kasama. And now we are actually is a design and game studio. So we arrived from design. He's more product design. I'm a UX designer and VR designer. And yes, we have experience in corporates like Maserati. And actually, we decided to start this adventure together with the Web3, but also traditional. So now we are actually serving different clients while making our own game and the DAO. So it wants to be like this play to earn game and VR. And are actually philosophically the two topics that I'm very bonded right now. So the VR itself for me is pure magic, right? This is when technology actually touch this wonderland, and I'm studied this since 3 years, and making demos in Unity, and my first game is called Professional Reality. So it wants to be kind of idea of teaching UX designer the design of virtual reality. So it wants to be actually a game to an educational game. So and from that there I actually have 2 terabytes of video I'm making of myself using virtual reality, and I try all kind of application. And what actually I'm philosophically attracted by this, I can say that maybe it's also dystopian, but I feel sometimes you can have immersive experience that are better than reality sometimes, and this actually create a great potential. And for me, as a gamer, you know, is very fun, and as a designer, thinking to create actually a software that start to being kind of a living being is very attractive. Um, and the second thing is this play to earn, right? Like the possibility of being paid for playing, I think is very interesting. I think it's also novel. The way we done this so far, I mean, our environment, right? The Web3 is not the way we want to achieve this, but just the possibility, like in design is very important when you have like an easy start point. There's like a small constraint, an idea, and from then the idea can grow in several ways. So this is what actually keep me busy all day, making
Awesome.
games, running this team, and I'm very excited. It's a very beautiful moment, and very fun, very attractive. Yeah.
Love this. Super cool. Regarding play to earn, yeah, definitely, it's super interesting. But as I think, in my humble opinion, it's heavily dependent on tokenomics, right? We have seen a lot of failures there as well, but I see a lot of potential there too. So it just depends on how it's made, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry.
Yes, I would add that the tokenomics is very important part, but maybe the most important part is the fun itself, because like it's the entertainment itself, right, that will bring value to the game. In fact, all the other calls I'm doing with other developers making game, the connection point is actually to make something that is valuable, right? It's like you have to start from something. In fact, also from my interaction designer perspective, is like is this that makes the game important and playable, right? Replayable. Is not anymore actually the one landing page where you stake your coins and whatever, right? So the tokenomics, I think, will arrive later. There are also all these gotcha game, right, where the tokenomics is just because you want to actually stay in the game and having new skins. So the tokenomics that there is actually the economics itself is like, it's because I like the game, it's because I want to be part of the game. So yeah, just want to add this to your thought. Is like, I think there is something before the tokenomics itself, at least from a gamer perspective.
That's a great approach. I think what you said is 100% correct, because what really all of those play to earn games did and still are doing is they think, let's launch an NFT or token, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then build some kind of game around it.
Yeah.
But it should be the other way around, right? Build a great, amazing game,
Exactly.
and then
Exactly.
where does fit the NFT token there?
Precisely. Completely agree. Yeah.
And in the beginning, you said that's why I looked a little bit confused for a second. You started developing, or not developing, designing with VR or something like that, 3D models, with 3 years old? Or did I get that wrong?
Yeah.
3 years.
Yes, of course.
Age of 3. How did that work? I'm just curious.
Yes, for example, there is like the Oculus TV1. So now I have this one, and I try all the VR. I mean, VR is not something new, right? But the revolution that happened is I think this hardware itself. Like, I think Facebook before Oculus, right before Facebook. Both the company make this very light, and you can also have these standalone, but also linked to a computer. And yeah, so Unity now has also a lot of frameworks, etc. Is developing really fast. In fact, I'm also very interested in this move of Apple, because I personally think Meta is, regardless his like political problems, is working very well from the hardware and software perspective. Quite a fun here of the hardware that actually allow me to add to my hardware, right, a new tool for playing, but also to work. So I daily work with my partner with this, and it's actually amazing.
Awesome. Like in the office, right? Like virtual office. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
more than virtual office, actually Gravity Sketch. We use a lot Gravity Sketch and Masterpiece Studio that also support us. And it's a 3D modeler, and as an application is free, and is incredible for different reasons. Like, for example, it's possible to have multiplayer. So we are in this room together, and we create our avatar or our actually the model of our game, but but also the character for the clients and the assets, all in VR. And a very interesting thing here is, like, in software like Blender, you don't have the multiplayer right now. So you cannot like being there together and use together and build together, right? Because we are there making these shapes, and so the multiplayer is very interesting aspect. Like, for example, also how Figma actually surpasses Sketch, right? At the beginning, as UX UI designer, like I was like surprised by Figma, like as a I think Figma has less features than Sketch, but the multiplayer actually brought Figma to the place that is now. So this is something in VR that can happen, is the reality. working together. And the other thing you also mentioned this also in our previous conversation, like if you are a 3D designer and you are not using VR, I think you are missing something. I know it's a big statement, but you have to think that in VR you are more conscious about the 3D and the proportion, and also talking about like the daily task you do with a software. For example, if you are using like Blender, Maya, Rhino, right? That I still use, but the main part is made in VR. Like you have to remove from your workflow all these interaction when you actually move your camera. So there are actually, that is a continuous work, even if you then actually enter in these automatic like actions. But with VR, you don't have to think, okay, I have to move the camera there or the camera there, because you move yourself around the object, or you grab the object and you move the object. And so this is not anymore like a conscious action, but it's very intuitive. It's like now I want to change this microphone, right? So now I can grab it and stretch it. And if I want to understand what is in the back in the microphone, I can just move myself. And this is why I think if you are a 3D designer, you should at least like try, or you can call me. And as you can see, I love to talk about VR. So
Awesome. Hey, that sounds incredible. So basically, VR is, from your perspective, all about collaboration. Is that correct? Like bringing people closer together, having that interaction, or more, being more, as you said, intuitive in your approach when doing things. Speaking of that, I would be curious. I think these kind of things, or I think you all know basically, but I would be curious, what kind of industries, based on what we just said, do you think artists or will be disrupted the most by VR or AR?
Yeah. So I study quite a lot this topic, and where to focus and where to find client, and so starting from the point, like the main point, VR is not still like exploding, or it's very easy. It's because this hardware is actually not in our house. And so like there is no hardware, so there is not a lot of possibilities of reach a large amount of people. So so this is like the problem number one. And for this reason, actually, what I know is that the medical sector is using a lot of VR, and this mostly for training purposes. Also because VR born with these purposes of like you have a lot of like sailing simulation. What else? Yes. Also, if you are in an industry, you want to like you educate people because you can recreate actually the experience they will live. Also, like the safety, airplanes. So all these educational or training that a company has to do, now they are actually creating an application to do this. So yeah, when you think about VR, you usually think about games. Instead, when you think about VR, you should think about education first. This is what is happening with this technology. And then there is, of course, game and all the other things, meditation, and all these other things that you also mentioned, like collaboration. I also want to like tell you some story, like some fun story my side. So very interesting. There are the three main social in VR are Rec Room, Altspace VR, and VR Chat. And in these places, like you can gather with friends, with trainers, and you can like playing games, doing courses, conferences, and people actually start populating these. Also, I remember when there was a tribute concert of the Daft Punk, and I entered in this portal that brought me where these people were dancing while streaming the Daft Punk album in a tribute of them, of the band. Or I remember there was this it was a wood environment where you have a fireplace in the center, and there was this guy with a gigantic screen streaming like German movies. And I approached him. I was an avatar, so I know that this can like sounds a bit creepy, but that's the reality. That's the virtual reality. So I approached him and I said, it was alone in that room, and I say, "Hey man, like, how are you? Like, what are you doing here? What are you streaming?" And he said like that these food have become his own living room, and he was there actually watching TV. But in addition to this, you can also enter his living room and talk with him while he's was watching his favorite like movie. So this is actually very interesting
Yeah.
situation where I end up, and they let me like think a lot about the potential of VR.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think it's heavily underrated, right? Especially as you said, the whole simulation sector use case, right?
Yeah,
There's from, as you said, simply the medical sector. Yeah, just imagine how much, yeah, you have the ability to train way better doctors, right, or whatever. And that alone is reason enough for VR to actually, yeah,
exactly.
grow,
Exactly. It's
right?
very much speed up the learning process. I'm also curious, Kevin, like what is your experience with VR?
Yeah, I think like most people, I just tried the VR headset. I have my own cardboard.
Okay.
I did some 3D modeling a few years ago with Maya in majority. And yeah, that's it. I'm a software developer,
Okay. Okay.
but it's yeah, super interesting basically. I also once developed a very simple Unity AR game, and
Okay.
I think the potential is truly there, right? As we said, there are so many possible applications for that. And then there's gaming as well. And then there's manufacturing and so on and so on. So many
Yeah.
things we could do with this. And we just need more people like you that can create those awesome 3D models and experiences so that people are really enjoying
Yeah.
their time within those
Yeah.
virtual worlds, right?
Yeah. About this, I also want to add about AR. What is happening now with my company? So actually, our clients now are asking us to. We are working on VR project, but one thing also related with the NFT and the Web3 that is happening is we were contacted to create AR avatar, 3D avatar. So now we are working for two Bored Apes, and they actually realized that okay, the profile picture is kind of a status symbol, right? You are part of this interesting group. But what they are using now is very interesting. Like it's very smart, I believe. So they thought, okay, what if we can make our ape alive and use these for different reasons? And one of these reasons, like for education. So what we made is actually we model their own ape. So from they send us their 2D NFT reference, and from that we create with VR the model and the whatever like clothes the NFT have, and from these like we start creating the facial expression and sorry. So then with Unity, you create this format that is very interesting because we can create the avatar with the facial expression for real-time tracking with your camera with the iPhone, but we can also use it as a character in a game. So it's a game ready game asset. So the clients are actually very happy that they can do both. But regardless the format, what I want to convey with you is this idea of like, okay, I have a 2D NFT. I own part of this, like it's mine. So I can develop this idea of having my NFT, because people also like makes personal. And what I believe is that, for example, with Ready Player Me, right? Ready Player Me is their power lays on the fact that they use these in different metaverses. But the fact is that people don't want to use, I think, like Ready Player Me. They use because it's very accessible, very easy. But what if I want to have like a Kasama, like my characters? I want to have like my characters. I want to have my superhero, right? I love Spider-Man, for example. I want to have my Spider-Man, or I have an ape. Why I should go in the other metaverses with the Ready Player Me avatar? Not that I have nothing against. I mean, I don't have nothing against Ready Player Me. I think they are actually doing a great job, and I also use Ready Player Me for some of my Unity project. But just to tell you, like, also this is connected with it's called VR Space. That is a social network in VR. So what attracts me from there, that when you enter there, you have like avatars that are very huge, very big, very tall, and then you have also very small character, like I don't know, like the size of a mouse, and you can play together, but you are completely different characters. You can it's a bit like a kind of there was this Spider-Man movie with the all different art styles, some from cartoon to real reality, etc., etc. So like different styles and different genre can live in the same metaverse. I think this is very cool, and I think the avatar that we want are very different, because we want to customize our avatar based on our own desires, and that's something that we are building, the package that we are building with these clients, and then we are actually now making the website, etc. So we will share this very soon on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. So basically, it's all about individualism, right? That you can express yourself in how you want to be. You can be whoever you want. Basically, you can design also architectures, what you want, right? Which wouldn't be possible in the real world, for example. And you basically, can build yourself, the world around you as you want, right? And that 100% flexibility and opportunity to actually be creative, I think that's the ultimate superpower, right? It's a blank screen. You can do whatever you want. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of interesting things said. I think it's clear VR isn't going away. And what would you basically tell someone who is really interested in that? How should they start, or what kind of things would you tell them in the first place?
Very interesting question, because I think is in my experience also a user need. Actually, I was contacted several times on LinkedIn mostly that is my social network, I would say, from like designer who wants to pass from 2D to 3D and VR and AR. And it's very simple. I think like the first thing is buy a headset. Very like sometimes it's not clear that this Oculus Quest cost 300 bucks. So I think is affordable, right? I think in general, like if you want to invest to yourself, 300 euro. Don't want to speak like just generally speaking. I think you can make it if you think that is going to help your career, and it's actually helped a lot my career. So this is like the first thing, and then like I think the next step this will take. So I would say I recommend research, playing all the app that you can, understand like the difficulties of creating an immersive experience. Let's start, for example, with motion sickness, right? That is this sense that motion sickness, for example, a small parenthesis, is something that you realize soon with VR. So you actually sometimes you move in VR, right? So you move forward, and the problem is that your brain. So you are in the physical world, you are still. You are, and but in VR you are moving, and this creates a cognitive mismatch between the motor perception, because your body is still, but your mind is telling you you are moving. And so this creates this famous effect called motion sickness, that designers can also design around this problem. For example, you can use, it's called teleportation in VR, that you actually with the analog you jump from a place to another, and these actually allow you to have less motion sickness instead of this continuous movement that is a classic of the desktop application. So this is like something that you can understand as like the user experience of immersive technology. So my first advice is like buy the headset and try out all the application. And I think what a change also like give me a very boost in my career is Unity. So I actually studied code and technical drawing at high school, and then in university I changed out of curiosity. I studied psychology, and then I returned to technology, studying human-computer interaction, made my publication, etc. But when I was finished university and I decided to return to coding, this very much helped me, like because this enabled me to Unity, and as a designer, like you can make very fast prototype, and that can help the software development department, but also as a designer really help you to communicate with the technical part of the team. And this is my experience is very like important, like because I in a way like I cannot code like from zero and make a bug-free myself, because this is like not my profession, right? That's why I collaborate with others, but I can do a good like 60% my own, and then I know what I should not do to make their life impossible. So be also more technical. Don't be scared about coding. Like also we have to also destroy this myth of like, oh yes, this software is without coding. Even if this code is not very like is difficult. It's maybe more boring than difficult, I would say. Like is another language. Boring sometimes, not for everybody. I just want to like give you asked me to a suggestion from the other side of the force. so yeah. So these are my two suggestions.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I'm 100% sure that already helps a lot of people. Thank you for sharing that. So I would be interested maybe by the example of your Kasama character. if that's correct.
Yes, correct.
Would you like to share how the basic process, like very high level, actually works, where how you actually start with a new 3D model or character? Do you brainstorm before? Do you sketch something? What's your overall process behind all that?
Yeah. So, so the story of Kasama that I actually also have here, I can also, it is a 3D model,
Love
3D
it.
printed. It is. So, so this, for example, is interesting. These were pure sketching. Like I was completely like just playing. And for example, here I start from, for example, the head, and the head was a cube. So I create a cube, and then I activate the subdivision. That is a technique used mostly in a car industry. So this is maybe also my background. So it's very interesting because a Kasama has this shape, this curvature that are quite soft, and these are made with this car technique. It's a car design technique. That's why they are more, I think, sometimes approachable. Because if you're trying instead to sculpting, that is another technique in 3D modeling, it's very difficult to create the same actually line that can be soft in a way. So so for to answer your question, like the Kasama were completely like from like a blank paper or idea. I would say blank environment, right? And from a cube, and then I divided this cube, and then I start creating these tentacles. But instead, how we are approaching the ape is completely different. So the ape, we have to find the proportion, and we have to find the volume. So we actually start from a reference 2D, and there is a lot of like sketching. So I don't start from a cube, but I start actually drawing in 3D these lines. In the future, we will do another call where I can stream and show you something more practical here. But actually, we sketch, and you create this sketch with the right proportion. So at the beginning, in 3D, you have to understand the proportion. So you have the head that is more or less this size, and the body. And then the second step is volume. So you actually fill these lines with a volume that you think, oh, okay, very, very rough, very, very quick. So it's like adding, very difficult, which metaphor I can use. It's like, you know, when you have in the freezer this tool to make the eyes, sorry, I don't know the name, and then the eyes take the shape to become an ice cube, right? So in this case, in VR, my lines are the structure, the prism, and then the volume is the water inside, is my ice cube. And so then you have the volume, and from there you start the very detailed work that is very manual, very artisan, very long, very satisfying also. So you actually create all the topology, so all the polygons like that create the mesh, also called, right? So actually is the skin of the model, but this time has to be done very well with not a lot of like polygons. And yeah, and there are also a lot of other passages. This is, I think, the beginning of the 3D model. But then, for example, we also use other VR application to make clothes, for example. So you create actually a low poly model, but then you to make the clothes looking real, you have to sculpt them. So sculpting is another, like, I think it will blow your mind. Using sculpting is it's like using a clay. So you feel really like that you have this model, and then you start like doing all the veins of the end of the hands, or for the clothes. is very, very satisfying, because it's like being being a child, and you are there using changing shapes. Very cool, very cool. And this is instead a very high resolution. I remember you also like asked me, we talked before about games, and it's interesting because at the end of the day, like you have to make an asset that is game ready, or is performance wise, has to be very optimized. And so in an interesting like workaround that the designers found is like, you create this very high poly model for a jacket, for example, and you also create the very low poly jacket. And so when you are going to texture, I don't know how much you are aware, like the texture is the part where you paint.
Yeah.
So what you do is like you paint based on the high poly. So you create the painting on the high poly model.
Oh, I love it.
And then you save it and you paste it in the low poly. So you are going to find the optimal performance and the optical aesthetic part. It takes more time because you have to do two jacket and all this, like you have to jump from a software to another. But at the end, like the important things is all these multiverses, is that you find a way of being like very, very like accessible for games, and games cannot render. And then now also we are entering this, what I see is that we are entering, probably you are more aware of me of these also technically, like now we want to like render everything in the cloud and making these OpenGL metaverses. And so it's a bit of a pity because now we have like super powerful computer, very compact. I bought my 14 blade razor, and then like now all the games are in a way, yeah, it's a bit like low performance. Not all the games, but the metaverses are very. I see that the metaverses and the Web3 is very bonded to the browser and the internet.
Many of them, yeah. I think Sandbox, for example, they're all bound heavily to the internet. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
But at least some of them have some clients, right, where you basically don't need to download all the time all the 3D models as well and so on. That already helps. But hey, I really love the texture thing, because basically that way you can somehow, I would say, fake quality, right? Because you all have that.
Exactly, it's faking quality.
Awesome, awesome, love that. And the general approach that was new for me, because just to give you some context, I just took a course on 3D modeling in college, right, in my exchange semester, and there we basically didn't have that artistic approach which you have, where you really sculpt, like really try to form a 3D model. We just draw our lines and then stack that onto that, and and some filters and stuff like that. But really love that. Super interesting. Thanks for that insight. And yeah, considering that, because I think there are many things you can do right? Just like the texture approach. Are there also things which you think shouldn't be done in the industry, or maybe are even considered a mistake if you do that as a 3D artist?
Okay, interesting. I think like there is not per se an error or a mistake you can do if your final output is you love it, or the client or the user or the player love it. One of the difficulties I have to blame more like the software industry, because I'm a high
I'm going
user.
away.
Yeah, I'm a of course, like I use like 20 software, right, daily, and like the problem of these is jumping from a software to another. So it can happen to me that I create like, I model, I rig, I skin, I texture, and then I have my bones ready for animation, and then I export to another software, and then you have the bones here, and
Yeah.
you know, like you enter after hours and hours, and the compatibility, I want to say, and I know that is very difficult, and that's also why there are these software like Blender, or for example, Masterpiece Studio in VR. They are trying to make all the steps in one software, so like cover all the 3D modelings, like from sketch to animation included, all in one software. Very good idea. I completely like, I'm a fan of this, I want to invest in this, please. But the reality is that to reach a professional result, you have to still use, at least I would say, for a game ready asset, at least 5 software.
Oh, crazy.
And yeah, and so I think there is like the sweet spot of like, I need to like to make to make my workflow easier. And sometimes you do with like the plugin in Unity, but plugin in Unity, you know, like, is not the solution. Also, I'm talking with you about Unity because I know you know Unity, but if you are doing a game, you cannot fill your game of packages. You have already like thousands of assets, and then you add the folders, and then you add the weight to like size of the file is increasing, and then GitHub, you know, all these things is like, I will, yeah, I think also I want to actually change your question, is more like also here a kind of a suggestion or advice for the 3D
Awesome.
modelers, or people who wants to like start Unity. Be patient, like be patient. This will repay everything, but a lot of time you will like lose hours and hours and days trying to figure out why the format is not okay, why they changed the axis, or this small part in Unity that you have 100 errors read, and you can lose like 1 week to just solve a thing that maybe. But this is like, I think in my experience, like it is worth everything, and it's not like it's something that maybe we will, like, AI will help us, all the designer working with software engineers will fix this eventually. But being patient, like, I think if you do the job that me and you do inside like software engineering, and basically creating software, because a game is a very complex software, right? So
Yeah.
is being patient and take your time, and yeah, I think there is a lot of psychology there, a lot of patience. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, a great message, right? For VR and for life, actually, I would say. Be patient, take your time, and yeah, with that ending message, I would say thank you, Teo, for being here. If you don't have anything left to say or any last words.
No, I usually do the thing for my team. I sometimes play the flute.
Oh.
This is like my musical signature.
Love it. Yeah, definitely needs to be included.
No, thanks to you too for having me. Very interesting conversation, and also
Likewise.
very interesting question. I hope I expressed like my passion about VR. I think is amazing, and please continue to do this thing, because are very cool, and I'm following you wherever. Also in Twitter now. I see you are also on Twitter.
I try.
I try the same. Like, I know we are more LinkedIn, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So no, I really appreciate your format, and also having me here. So I'm your supporter. Please, please keep doing. You are doing great.
Thanks, Theo. That really means a lot to me. And yeah, thank you for everyone for watching or listening to this. And yeah, wish everyone an incredible day. And yeah, see you soon.
May the force be with you. Ciao.
Ciao.